Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to build this medieval shop and house combo. This striking build has tons of intricate detail as well as plenty of classically medieval features. With its copper-coloured roof, it really does stand out in a medieval world or as a standalone build. And despite only taking up about a chunk worth of space, it has a spacious interior perfect for decorating for your decorative or survival needs. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Keep in mind that you can swap out supplies to achieve a different look with this build. For example, you could swap out the copper from the roof for something like brick or deep slate, and it will transform the look of the finished build. Also, feel free to leave a comment if you're having trouble getting any of these supplies, and I'd be happy to offer suggestions for substitutions. Here is the outline for today's build. You can see that it's basically a 9x13 rectangle, and then we have some extra points marked in there. So at the front we've got the gap for the doorway, and then off to the left we've got our front shop window. We've also got one block marked in there where we will be having a post, and that's one block away from the back and the left side wall, and we've also got the place of the chimney marked in. We're going to start our construction by adding in some posts using some strip spruce logs. I'm going to be building up 6 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just in each corner of this large rectangle. So I've got 4 posts in so far. We're going to move over to the 2 side walls, and I'll be placing a post in the center. This should leave me with 2 3-wide panels on each side. There we go. Now for the back wall, I'm going to be counting 3 in from either side, 1, 2, 3, and leaving that as a gap, and then I'll add in an extra post. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. So we'll end up with 4 posts along the back with 3 3-wide gaps. Then for the front, I'm going to come to this right-hand side where we have our doorway marked in and count 3 blocks over and add in a post on that 4th block. So that should line up with the post at the back. I'm then going to leave this gap here. It's 7 blocks across, and I'm going to have it be free. I have one more post to add in, and it's 1 block away from these 2 walls, and you can see that it's centered on both of those 3-wide panels, and once again that's 6 blocks high. Now that we've got all of those in, I'm going to connect all of the ones around the perimeter, just at the top like this, using some more logs. And for now, I'm going to continue to leave this front section where we have our shop window clear. Now that we've got all of this marked in, let's start working on filling in these panels. Of course, we've got to leave our doorway here, so I'm going to add in a temporary block just to remind me to leave that free. For the rest, I'm going to start going around the base using some furnaces. Now we've got this texture on one of the sides of the furnace, so I want to make sure that I tuck that away so you can't see it when you walk through the doorway. And I can check that by removing these temporary blocks, and nope, no furnace showing. Then I'm going to go around the rest of the outline and place in my furnaces. You want to make sure they're not visible from the outside or from the inside. There we are, all of our furnaces are in. Let's mark in some windows next. Now you can go ahead and place these in straight away using the white stained glass panes, but I find it easier to come back and add those in later. So we have a 3-high window beside the doorway here, so that's on the front half of this window, on this right side wall. We have another window opposite that, so on the front half of the left side wall. And then on the back wall, we're going to have one opposite the doorway, so that's on the right hand side of the build, once again 3 blocks high. I'm then going to take some stone brick, and I'm going to place a layer high of this on top of the furnace all the way around the build. And then I can fill in the rest of the walls using some stone. And I'm going right over the top of the doorway here. Now I can remove all of these temporary blocks and fill in these windows with my white stained glass panes. So here's what we've got so far. We're going to move on to working on this shop front window now. I'm going to be placing in some stone brick on either side, going up 6 high. So that's directly next to both of those spruce posts. Then in between, I'm going to place in 5 dark oak planks. And I'm going to build up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, with some white stained glass blocks. This will leave me a gap at the top, and I'm going to grab some more of these strip spruce logs and just add a beam going across like this. Before we continue our work out here on the exterior of the build, I'm going to come inside and start working on this flooring. So I've placed in a stripped dark oak log underneath the doorway there. Then when I walk into the build, I have this window directly in front of me, and off to the side we have this blank wall. I'm going to dig out a 2x3 rectangle like this and place in some stone brick, because this is where we're placing in a fireplace later on. For the rest of the floor, I'm going to dig it out and place in some more of these stripped dark oak logs. These give the look of large floorboards, and I just want to make sure I'm placing them all in the same direction. I don't need to place one underneath this post, but you can if you've got plenty left over, or you can go around and just place them where you have the floor visible. So from above, here's what we've got so far. Now we need to add in a staircase to access our next story, so I'm going to be using some dark oak stairs, and I'm starting by placing one beside this furnace here, where we've got a post directly next door. I'm then going to use these stairs to zigzag my way up, being careful not to enter the furnaces. And I'm going to need to go back and forth until I reach 1 block away from the corner. So 1 more layer up, 1 here, and 1 here. And then we need to turn around, so I'll be placing in a stripped dark oak log. Then I'll go back and make sure I have an upside down stair here. And then I can continue zigzagging up. There we are. So we've got our staircase in, and we're ready to add in the next layer of our build. So I'm going to start with a stripped spruce log going all the way across the length of this build between these 2 posts. Just like this. Then I'm going to connect up across the other direction. Like that. I can also add in 1 more stair when I'm doing this, just on top of here, and then I'm going to fill in each of these panels using some of these stripped spruce slabs. Of course, I need to leave this gap free because that's where we have our staircase, so I'm just placing in these spruce slabs there. I'm also going to leave this 1 panel free where we have our fireplace, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. You'll notice these 2 front panels are an extra block long, and that's because that's where our shop window is, but I'll continue filling it in. And from above, it's going to look like this. Finally, to fill in this gap here, I'm going to be placing a stone brick in the center of this 3 wide section, so that's on the right side wall, and then I can fill in the rest with these spruce slabs. Before we move on to the next story, now that we've got this platform prepared, I'm going to come downstairs and place in a few lanterns, as well as some torches. And I'm also going to add in the railing that's going to be going on this side of my staircase. So for that, I'm just using some dark oak trapdoors and placing them up the side. 3 like this. Alright, back up the stairs we go, and let's work on this next story. I'm going to start by building up on top of all of our original post locations with some more of these stripped spruce logs. This time I'm adding 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the last one. There we go, and like we did before, I'm going to connect these all around the top. I'm going to take some oak logs and I'm going to be placing these upright in all of the gaps around the outline here. Just like this. I'm going to be using some stripped dark oak logs to fill in the floor for this next story, but before we do that, I'm just going to mark off where we have our staircase here, so that's just this corner. And I'm going to mark in a 2x3 rectangle where we're going to have our fireplace later on. Then I can place these stripped dark oak logs all facing in this same direction, going from the back of the build towards the front. So this is the opposite direction to the way I place them in the lower story. When I come to this front section, I'm just going to fill in this gap here beside the posts. And then I'm going to come forward one extra block across these 5 here, where we are building straight on top of the spruce. So not on top of those 2 points where we have the stone brick there. Speaking of stone brick, I'm going to take 6 stone brick and fill them in where we've got our fireplace going in there. I can also remove these temporary blocks where we have our staircase, and I'm going to use some dark oak trapdoors to create some railing. So I'll be placing 3 along this way, 1 over here, and then I'm adding in a temporary block so that way I can place in 2 more, 1 off of this trapdoor and 1 off of the temporary block. And when I flip them down, you can see it has a continuous look. You can tell that that is different because I don't have that kind of corner missing that we get if I place it that way around. So we've got a continuous railing and that looks lovely. Now we need to start filling in all of our walls. Before we fill in our walls, I'm going to mark in our windows and some other key locations using some temporary blocks. I'm going to start on this front wall here where we have just 1 panel, and I'm marking in a 2x3 rectangle 1 block off the ground. And I'm working from inside the build, but you could do this from working outside the build as well. Then we've got our right side wall. We're going to have a 2-high window in the center of this panel, just like this. Then over where we have our chimney, I'm going to build up all the way to the top in the center. There we go. And then I'm going to build up, leaving 1 block free over to that side. On the back, we're going to have a window on the 2 outermost panels that are 2 blocks high. 1 there and 1 here. Just like this. And then on this side, we're going to have a window in both of these panels. There we go. Let's have a look from the outside. So this is the left wall, the back wall, the right side wall, and finally the front wall. To fill in all of these gaps, I'm going to be using a mixture of birch wood, that's the kind that has the texture on all of the sides, calcite, and then white concrete powder. But if you don't have access to calcite, you could swap this one out for wool and it'll look just as good. So I'm just going to be placing these in a random mixture around the build. There's the first panel, and you can get the idea of the look we're going for here. And it's entirely up to you how much of each material you use. I like to fill in each panel, take a step back and check I like the distribution before moving on to the next one. Another good way to do this would be to fill in the panels with all of one supply, so perhaps you fill them all in with the calcite and then come back in and texturize afterwards. It's just about finding a system that works for the way you like to build. If you're enjoying today's video and would like to access some additional benefits like world downloads for this and all my other builds, as well as access to a multi-world server, check out my Patreon. I would love to have your support and I would love to have you join my community. So I've got all of these walls filled in now with my randomized texture of white materials. Before we can work on the front wall here, we need to add in the decorations for the window below. So let's add those in. I'm going to start with some stripped spruce logs, and I'm placing 3 across the front and they're facing forwards like this. Then I'm going to go in with some barrels. I want to place these so they're coming forward like this, so we end up with 2 horizontal stripes. And I'm going to cover over the front with a couple of spruce trapdoors, just like that. Next, I'm going to be building up 3 high, 1, 2, 3, on top of each of those barrels with some dark oak fences, and I'm going to place an extra strip spruce log on top of those. I can then build up 4 high in the center with my chains, just like this. Next up, I'm going to place in an archway with a spruce stair on either side of the window like that, and I'll place a stripped spruce log on top of those 2 stairs, and then we've got to place in 3 barrels on top of that section in the center. Let's add in a couple of dark oak buttons and then 3 dark oak signs, and I just want these to be empty, just like this. Now for the 2 sides, we're going to be using stone brick materials. I'm going to start with a chiseled stone brick at the bottom, followed by a stair. Then we've got a wall and an upside down stair, followed by a right way up stair. Let's do this on the other side as well. I'm going to place a stone brick on top of that, and this should bring us level with the rest of the window decoration. And I'm going to add in a stone brick slab coming forward from there. So it's creating a nice swooping shape like this. Then I'm going to take some furnaces and I'm going to place them first facing backwards on top of those slabs, and I'll bring that over to connect up with the floor behind, and then we need to build across this section here. So if we take a step back, here's how it's all looking, and that front window does look beautiful. We're now ready to start filling in this front top window. So I'm going to fill in this gap at the base here with some spruce planks, just like that. Then I'm going to be placing in a couple more posts using my stripped spruce logs. So I'm going to find the center, and then off to either side like this, I'm going to start placing in my posts, and I'm going to build them up to the same height as the rest here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks tall, just like this. I'm going to mark in some windows next, so I'm going to leave a gap at the base and then build up 4 high with my temporary blocks, and I'll do this off to either side as well. So it will look like this. Now to fill in the walls, we're going to be using our mixture of white material like we had on the other wall panels. So let's fill in above and below these windows first. Once again, I'm just going with a random distribution here, like this. Next, we're going to fill in these 2 wide sections on either side of the window, leaving this front gap of 7 furnaces free. So there's one wall, and let's do the other side. And I'm happy with that texture. Next, we need to fill in the glass for all of these windows, and we're going to be using white stained glass panes. So this is as simple as just removing the temporary blocks and adding in the glass, but you may find if you have a concrete powder above here, when you remove the block it'll drop down, so we just need to add that back in. I'm going to go around and replace all of these windows ready to work on the next part of the build. All of the windows have glass. I just need to fill in this section here with some stone brick, and that is going in where we have our chimney. Alright, the build is starting to come together and we have a good structure. Let's start adding in some decorations now, working on this front window first. I'm going to start with some stripped spruce logs, and I'm placing these coming forward on every other block, like that. I'm going to have slabs in between these. There we go. Next, we're going to have a layer of stairs coming up on top of each of the logs, like this. And then on either side, I'm going to have an extra stair upside down with a spruce trapdoor in between. Then we can add a log facing forward on top of that, and some stairs coming in to create an archway. It'll look like this so far. Let's build up 3 high on top of these 2 stairs, like this, and on top of that we're going to add in 2 more of the stripped spruce logs. There we go. Next we're going to go in with some barrels, so I'm going to add a row of temporary blocks just on top like this, so that way I can place 2 barrels on either side, and I'm having them facing so when we remove this temporary block we have the back texture of the barrel. We need to add in 3 more barrels next, and I want to place them so that we have these 2 parallel lines facing upwards. There we go. I'm going to take some chains next, and I'm going to be placing them in front of each window. We have 4 in the center and 3 on either side. Now let's go in with some spruce signs. I have 1 in front of each of these slabs, and they're all blank, just like that. Then coming over to either side, I'm going to have 3 along the base, and then 2 coming in from this top log. Before we continue our work here on the exterior of the build, let's add in the floor and roof of the story below. So I'm going to add in the stone brick above the chimney here. Then I'm going to take some stripped spruce logs and we're going to add in some beams. So we've got 1 going all the way across here. We'll connect these up to the posts at the back and again coming forward. Then we've got this section here where we have our large window. So I'm going to have a beam going all the way across this way, and I can connect this up like that. Then I'm going to add in 2 more logs connecting up to these 2 posts of the front window. Let's add in our ladder to reach the attic story, and that's going beside this window here. And I can add in some torches and lanterns while I'm down here to make sure we don't have mobs spawning. Let's see, I think I'll have some lanterns here, and then we'll place some lanterns on these posts as well. There we are. Now for the rest, I'm just going to fill in the floor with these spruce slabs. I also want to make sure I'm adding a spruce trapdoor above my ladder. And from above, here's how it should look. Back out to the exterior to continue adding in some decorations, I've got some stripped spruce logs here, and I'm going to be placing these coming out from the joins in each of these posts and beams. And I'm doing this all the way around the lower story and the top story as well. So there's the lower story, and now onto the top story. I'm going to add a stair underneath all of these. And down on the lower story as well. And I'm adding in a trapdoor underneath each of these stairs. And once again, we'll do the same thing on the top story. There we go. Down here on the lower story, I'm going to go in with a few more trapdoors around the base. And then we need to add a little bit of separation between these 2 levels. So I'm going to be taking some spruce stairs and placing 2 on either side and then a spruce slab in the middle. And I'll do these for each of these panels, except for this one right here where we have our chimney. I'm going to leave this one free. And there we go, we've gone all the way around. I'm going to place in some more stairs now, and these are coming out above each of these logs. You can see they're placed upside down. And then I'm going to take some spruce trapdoors and I'm going to be placing these in between all of these stairs, again leaving this gap free where we have our chimney. I'm also going to go ahead and place a trapdoor in each of the corners as well. Here's how it's looking. You can tell what a major difference that has already made to the build, and we've still got loads more details to add. Before we move on to the next step, we're going to add one more of these spruce details, and that is some more of these archways with the 2 stairs and slabs around the top edge of the build. For this one, we're going to fill in all of the gaps, including that one there over the chimney. And last one. While I'm here, I'm going to add in 2 slabs just in front of these logs on either side of the front window. Next, we're going to move on to working on the gable walls for this top story. I'm going to start on the first one here at the front. So where we've got these 2 slabs and we've got this row with a mixture of our white materials and spruce, that's where we're going to begin building. I'm going to start by building all the way across here with my mixture of materials. Making sure that I'm not creating a mirrored pattern as I go by stepping back and checking. So there's my first row, and you can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks across, like that. Then I'm going to mark in my window for this wall, and I'm going to go and add my glass in later. So I'm just going to build up 3 high with a temporary block in the center like this. Next, we're going to add in a layer 1 high across, coming in 1 block. Then we got to go over to this side. Let's add a birch there. Checking my texture as I go, just like that. I'm going to add in another one of these 1 high layers now. And then I'm going to use some temporary blocks building up like this, and then placing in some barrels from behind. Then I can remove these and add in another one of these white blocks. So it'll look like this. I'm going to add a 2 high layer on top of this next. There we go, and then 2 blocks in the center to finish us off. So here's how the first wall should look, and now that I've got that in, I can go ahead and remove these blocks and place in my window. On to the next gable. We're going to be creating a small gable over to this side, so I'm going to place in 1 more white block coming back, and then we should be able to fit 5 blocks across here, so let's add those in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that, and I'll mark in a 2 high window in the center. I'm going to add 1 more block on top of each of these. There we go. Coming in, building up 2 high again. Let's see, I'll add 1 here and like this, and we'll add a birch above the top, and then 2 more at the very top. Once again, I can add in my glass, and here's how this gable should look. Our next gable is the one on the right hand wall. That's where we have this chimney. Now before we add in the gable itself, I'm going to find this point where we have our stone brick, and then on top of this log I'm going to build up 4 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, with a few more stone brick like this, and that's just continuing the chimney. Let's come over to the side here, and I'm going to build up 3 high beside that with my white materials, and then 1 high beside that, just like this. Then I'm going to build across the rest of this length with some more of my white blocks. There we go. Let's mark in our window next. It's in the center, and we're going to be building up 3 high. 1, 2, 3. There we are. Next, we're going to be needing to build up a layer 2 high all the way across from here. So we're going to start on top of this block, so beside this gable, building up 2. Just like this. So if we have a look, we've got 1, then a step of 2 on the back side, and then 2 and a step of 1, and that's because we've got 2 gables joining together here. For this next layer, we're going to be placing in a layer 1 high coming in from this edge. And you can see that this is going to line up with the top of our stone brick. Then I'm going to place in a couple of temporary blocks coming up on either side so I can place in some barrels from the back. Remove these temporary blocks, and we should end up with a 2 high step on both sides with some barrels on top. Let's fill in this gap with some more of the calcite, birch wood, and white concrete powder. And I might just move these around a little bit. Let's see, I'll put that way. I think that looks nice. We're going to create another layer of 2 on top of here. And finishing off with 1 more layer of 2. Once we've got it looking like this, we can remove the temporary blocks and place in our glass. Next, I'm around here at the back of the build, and we need to add in a little wall as well as a gable, and that's going on the right hand side of the build when you're looking from the back. Let's start by creating a wall that's going to go from this point here all the way across to this log that you can see facing up. Just like that. Now we need to mark in our window, and it's going to be centered on this wall where we can see the window at the front there as well. So it's above this post, and it should line up with the window at the front. And once again, it is 3 blocks high, just like that. So now that I've got that marked in, I'm going to build 1 high, 3 to either side of this. There we go. I'm going to add 1 high, 2 to either side next. Just like that. And this is where we're going to add in a barrel. So we need to add in some temporary blocks, place in our barrels, fill in these gaps. Let's see. I think maybe a concrete powder there and maybe a calcite there. And I can remove these blocks. There we are. We're going to add some 2 high steps next. So 1 here and 1 more layer going up. And we'll finish off with 2 more blocks on top, 1 and 2. Remove these temporary blocks again and add in our glass. So here's how the back wall should look. Onto the final gable now, so we're coming around to the left hand side of the build when you're looking from the front. So this is the side that doesn't have a chimney on it, and it's the side where we have our ladder. I'm going to start by building all the way across here with my white blocks. There we go, and that's going to connect up the 2 gables on either side. Now coming towards the back of the build, I'm going to line myself up with this central post and mark in my window, which is 3 blocks high. This should again line up with a window on the opposite side. And I'm going to start by building up 2 high along here, starting 1 block in, so like this. Let's see, I'll add in another calcite and a concrete powder, and we need to build 2 high, going 3 along from this side of the window as well. There we are. I'm going to add a 2 high layer coming in 2 blocks. And we need to add in our barrels here. And I'll fill in this gap as well. Let's see. There we are. Let's add 2 more blocks atop these 3. finish off with 2 more blocks in the center. Let's add in our glass and then we'll take a look at all of these gables around the build. You should have 5 gables in total now, and the walls should connect up between them. One last finishing touch I'd like to do before we move on to the roof is adding in a couple barrels. We have 2 on this side and 2 on this side. And you can see from the interior of the build that we've got some walls coming together here. It's now time to start working on the roof. So for this roof, I'm going to be using a mixture of oxidized cut copper and the oxidized cut copper stairs to create the roof shape. But then I want to add a gradient with some of the weathered cut copper. That's the one that's not quite so oxidized. So what I'm going to do is I'm building the whole roof out of this fully oxidized copper, and then I'll go back in with an axe and some beeswax later, and by right-clicking on the oxidized cut copper, I can weather it like this, and then I'll wax it so it stays in that state. In Creative, you can also just break and replace these blocks. So let's start on the front wall. I'm going to begin on this largest gable, and I'm building out 3 blocks with my stairs, and I'm going to just work along this first edge. So this next layer is stairs, then we've got blocks followed by stairs, again, blocks and stairs, and I'm just following the shape created by the gable up to the top with 2 blocks at the top. Then I'll do the same thing on this side. So we've got a layer of stairs first, and I'll come across 3, and we've got another layer of stairs, and so on. Underneath, I'm going to be placing in a few more stairs just to give it a cleaner look. And I won't add a stair in the center there because we'll have some logs coming out in a beam later on. It'll look like this. Let's do the same edge technique over here on this roof. So we're going to start with a block for this smaller gable, just like this. Then we're going to be having a stair coming up and a stair this way. Then we've got a row of blocks, a row of stairs, a row of blocks, a row of stairs, and then 2 blocks on top. We're going to be working back down this time, starting with our stairs, because we're going to be joining up eventually to the gable behind us. So once I place in these 2 stairs, you can see we're level with this particular gable. So let's add in these 2 blocks, fill in this gap with a stair, and then we need to start connecting the 2. So before we do that, we need to do this gable here so we can connect them back up to the main large gable. So for this one, I'm going to start by placing in an upside down stair here. Then we'll have a block and a stair. Then we're going to be having a layer of blocks and a layer of stairs. Blocks, stairs, blocks, stairs, and 2 blocks at the top. And once again, I can place in some upside down stairs underneath. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. So we're going to be having our first stair rotating around this way like this. And I can do this just by breaking and replacing it on an angle. Then we've got a layer of blocks and stairs, and so on up to the top. And 2 blocks at the top. Let's place in our upside down stairs. And we've just got the one edge like this. I think I'm going to start by filling in this corner. The thing with roofing is it's just about taking time and making sure everything lines up and you don't have any gaps. So I'll be jumping back and forth between each of the gables. So you can see that I'm just needing to make sure I fill in blocks where there needs to be blocks for the main roof, and then blocks over this side where we need to have blocks to continue this shape. That's why it's important to jump back and forth. We're almost at the top. We're at the top of this gable, so I'll add my blocks coming across here. And we're at the top of this gable too, so I can add my blocks coming across here as well. So there's one corner done. Let's move on and do this corner next. So we need to bring this block back to fill in this gap and this stair. Then we need to add in some blocks here. And we're at the top of this small gable, so let's add those in. Then we can connect up to these. And I'll bring my blocks along to this point. Now I know that there's no more blocks that are going to reach up as high as the top roof here, so I can connect these up. And we need to work out this next section here. So I'm going to start by bringing these blocks back level with the stairs. Let's bring these ones back as well. And now that we're all level, we need to continue along the gable shape created here. So let's build across these stairs first. Then if we look at the gable shape on this large roof, we know that we've got a layer of blocks next. So let's add those in. I can then see that that'll connect up to these stairs, so I'll bring these stairs back, and I can bring these blocks back as well. Let's have a look back at this gable. We've got some more stairs here, so let's continue these across. And underneath the stairs, we're going to have a row of blocks, so let's add those in. And I only need to add in 4 here. I can connect these up to the stairs from this layer. We've got some blocks below that, so let's add those in. And we're up to a layer of stairs on our main gable, and I can check that back over here. So let's add in 2 stairs. Then finally, to fill in this hole, I'm going to need to come inside the build and place in 2 blocks. 1 here and 1 here. And it should look fairly tidy from the interior if you've filled in all of your holes correctly. Let's check it from the outside as well. Here's how the roof should look. Now before we move around to the back, I'm just going to add in a couple more stairs. We've got 1 here and 1 here, and that's just finishing off the look of this gable. Alright, coming back around now, we're going to work on the back. Before we add in the roof, we're going to add in the chimney. The reason we need to do this before we add in the roof is it cuts into the roof itself. So we're going to start by finding this wall here of the gable, and I'm going to be counting 1 block back, and this is where I'm going to place in my first 2 stone bricks going up. I'll then add 3 stone brick walls on top. Just like this. I'm going to build up to this same 3 block height with some stone brick behind here. And I'll add an extra 2 onto this side. Then over on this side, I'm going to add in a wall and an upside down stone brick stair. Then behind this, I'm going to add in 3 stone brick. 1, 2, 3. And we can place a stair on top of that. Just like this. I'm going to add 4 stone bricks going up on top of this upside down stair. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then off to this side, we're going to add in 2 stairs, 1 upside down, 1 right way up, and then a stone brick on top of that. Let's add in 1 more stone brick stair on top of here, and then diagonally back from here, I'm going to add in an upside down one. So I've taken a step back and you can see what we've got so far. I'm going to add in a couple of stone brick walls in between these 2 stairs next. Then I'm going to place in a stone brick on top of this. Then we've got a stone brick stair, and you can see that it kind of curves in, then back out again. I'm going to place in an upside down stair above here, so we've got this stair and 1 above it. And then on top of this right way up stair, we're going to place in 3 more stone brick. On top of these points, we're going to add in our campfires, and I'll surround them with some spruce trapdoors to cover them up. So here's how the chimney should look from all the different angles. So now that we've got our chimney in place, we can add in the gables, and I'm going to start by working on this gable here. We're going to be having a block in the corner because we've got 2 of our gables joining together, but then I can continue on following along with the shape. So here we've got our gables joining, so I need to add in a row of blocks for this particular gable. But then we're going to have a row of stairs for this smaller gable. Then we're back to blocks and then stairs, following along the shape again. And then 2 blocks at the top. Let's work our way back down. And actually, I need to make sure I leave a row of blocks along here because that's what we'll be having for our largest gable. But I can place in 1 more row of stairs to connect everything up. So it's going to look like this. Let's add in our upside down stairs to finish off the look of this edge. Next, let's add in the edge of this largest gable. So we were up to our stairs in the pattern. And don't forget to place the stairs underneath. we'll do this end as well. So we're up to stairs, then blocks, then stairs, and so on. So here's how this end should look. Now this roof is a little bit simpler because we don't have quite so many gables joining into each other, so let's go ahead and start filling in all of these gaps until we have a completed roof. So here's our first corner done, and back over to this side. I'm just going to keep working, pretending as if that chimney wasn't even there. So I'm running straight into the side of it. And you can see I'm making sure I fill in all the gaps behind the chimney as well with the roofing materials. Last few blocks. And there we go, we've got the base of our roof in place now. Now that we've got this built, we can add in all the decorative details. So let's add in some stripped spruce logs coming out from the top of each gable to begin with. I'm building out 3 blocks here. Then I'm going to decorate the edges of these gables using some stone brick. So let's start on this smallest gable first. I'm starting with an upside down stair and I'm zigzagging my way up using these stairs. You can see I'm placing the upside down stair onto the block, so there's a little bit of the copper showing underneath. Come back down this way. And one more here. Then we need to do the top, so I'm going to build up a couple blocks here like this, and one more on top of that. Then I'm going to have a stair come out from here, and a block on top of there. Finally, to finish off the edge of this roof, I'm going to place in a couple of slabs just to connect up to the roof behind it. So there's our first roof in. Let's do this next one. I'm going to follow along with the same pattern, starting off with my stairs, and then zigzagging my way up using the upside down stairs. And the other side as well. We'll finish off the roof in the same way. There we go. For the largest 2 roofs, we're going to be doing the same thing with our stone edging. Just like that, and then we need to add the flick on the top. So for this one, I'm going to be building up 3 high, then I'll add in my stair, a block, and I'm adding in an extra wall. Let's do the same thing on the other end. And I'm going to do the same design as on the front for this gable. Now I've taken a step back and I've added in 1 extra stair down here, so I'm going to remove that to make sure I can see that lovely copper edge. So make sure you check all of your gables to see that you can see that lovely copper beneath, and it adds a beautiful pop of colour. Alright, let's add the flick to the top of this roof. A couple extra slabs. And then we need to add a decorative edge to the top of this largest gable. So for this, I'm going to start by creating a pattern using a stone brick stair, then a slab, then a stair. Then I'm going to have another stair, slab, stair. stair, slab, stair, and so on, and I should reach the end of the roof finishing off with a stair. Just like that. Now I'm going to take some more slabs and I'm going to skip this first slab and add one on every other peak. It'll look like this. And doesn't the roof look lovely? While I've got these stone brick materials in my hand, I'm going to add in the chimney. So let's come down here to the base of the build. So I'm going to start by building 3 across the back like this. Then I'm going to add in some stairs at the back side, coming in a curve and a block on top of that. I'm going to build up an additional 2 high in the center and add in a chiseled stone brick. And I'll build 1 high towards the front side and add in 2 stairs, this time curving outwards like this. I'm going to add in a few more blocks coming up here. Let's build up 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks like that. And I'll add a stair on top of here and 2 walls. 1, 2. Beside this last block that we placed below this stair, I'm going to add in 1 more wall, and that should be level with this edge of the wall of the second story. Let's come back down. I'm going to add in a chiseled stone brick down here and a wall beside that. Then we've got 2 stairs curving outwards. There we go. And 3 walls on top of this. 1, 2, 3. Next, I'm going to grab some of these spruce stairs and place 1 on either side of the chimney. Just continuing on with the look for the rest of the build. And I'm also going to grab some trapdoors and do the same thing here. 2 trapdoors. The next step is to decorate all of these windows, and all of the windows excluding this 2x3 window at the front have the same decoration. Oh, and this one at the top also has a different decoration, so we'll just leave this panel free. But for the rest of the windows, we're going to be grabbing dark oak slabs and placing 3 across the base. Then we're going to place in some grindstones here and here. At the top, we're creating an archway with an upside down dark oak stair and 2 right way up dark oak stairs beside that. And then we'll connect up to these grindstones using some fences. To finish it off, we're going to add in some chains. So for these lower story windows, as well as the ones on the gables, we're going to be needing 2 sets of fences on either side. But for these smaller windows, we'll only need 1. So let's try out the decoration here. Once again with our grindstones. And then you can see I'm just adding in 1 fence. And don't forget the chain as well. So let's repeat this decoration all the way around the build. I'm just placing in the last few chains for these window decorations, and you can also see inside I've lit up with a few torches. There we go. So we've got the window decorations on most of the windows done, but we do need to add decorations to these windows. For this smallest window, we're simply going to place a dark oak slab above and below, add in a couple of chains here and here, and then we're going to add some trapdoors on either side. You might need to crouch to place in these 2. There we go. Now for this window, we're going to do a sort of similar decoration. We're starting with slabs above and below like this, and I'll add chains in the center. Then I'm going to have 2 sets of trapdoors coming out from here, creating a frame like this. So it'll look like that. Before we move on from this wall, I'm going to grab some of these spruce signs and place 3 along the top here, just like this. Now let's move down and work on this doorway. I'm going to have a similar design with grindstones, followed by some dark oak fences and an archway, this time with 2 dark oak stairs and a slab in the center. For my door itself, I'm using a spruce door, just placed simply like that. Above this, I'm going to add in a fence on either side above these stairs, as well as a fence gate, and this is going to provide the support for our canopy. We'll be using wool for this canopy, and I'm using red and white, and I think that's a nice contrast from the blue color of the roof, but you can use whatever wool you like. So we're going to build out 2 blocks and then down 1, 2 with the other color, down 1, and 2 and down 1, just like this. Let's create a canopy on the back side of the build now. I'm going to start by placing in the posts. So I'm going to line myself up with this post, count 2 blocks out and place in a grindstone. And I'll do this in front of these 2 as well. Then I'm going to be building up 2 high with my spruce fences. And we're ready to add in the canopy itself. Again, using the red and white wool, I'm going to make a striped pattern going across. Finishing there. Then we're going to come up and follow along that striped pattern again. And finally, I'm going to fill back in these gaps. So here's how this one looks. I'm going to add a few of these spruce fences just to this panel here to add a little bit more visual interest. Just going up the side like this. I'm also going to add some decoration in these gables. Let's start on this back gable and the matching front gable. I'm going to be adding a stair to either side of this window. Then I'm going to have 2 trapdoors coming up from that. There we go. Above here, I'm going to add in a fence and an upside down stair. And then on the end of this log, I'll add in a grindstone and some chains hanging down. I think I'll add 1 chain and a lantern. There we go. Let's do the same design at the front. So we've started with our stairs here and here. Then we've got our trapdoors. We've got our fence and a stair at the top. And our grindstone, chain and lantern. For our 2 largest end gables, we're going to have a sort of similar design. Let's start by placing in 2 stairs. And this time 3 trapdoors going up. I'm also going to be adding in a blank sign to either side of these trapdoors, like this. And this time I'll need to add in 2 fences before my stair. Then we've got our grindstone and I'll hang 2 chains down this time. Let's create this design on the other side. For our smallest gable, we're not going to be adding any decoration, but we are going to add in a grindstone with a chain and a lantern. Next, I'm going to take some dark oak trapdoors and I'm going to be placing these along the underside edge of our roof. This is just going onto the actual blocks, not onto the stairs like we will see around on this side. So I'm going to place 2 here, but I won't be placing 1 here. Let's take a step back and have a look at the build. This build is looking fantastic. All that's left to do now is add in the finishing details, and one of those is to add the gradient by removing some of this oxidization. I'm going to let this one re-oxidize a little bit, or in Creative I can replace it. And once I'm happy with the texture, I can go ahead and wax these blocks. There we go. Let's see. I think I might add a few more coming up this way. It's up to you how much you oxidize or leave unoxidized. I might add 1 more let's add 1 more there. I think that looks good. Let's come around and continue doing this for the rest of the build. You can see that I'm starting off with mostly oxidized at the base and then going to fully oxidized at the top. I've finished adding in all the details, so let's take a stroll along this road and check out the build. It really does look show-stopping from ground level, and you really feel like you are walking up to a magnificent shop. Now you can decorate this build however you like inside. With a large shop window like this, you could have it selling a myriad of things. And remember, you've got all of these signs up here. This would be a great place to put the shop name or what you're selling inside. For example, you could put in a sign like this one, Ye Old Bookshop, and I've even added some custom emojis to look like books. This is a really great way to customize this build, so make sure you leave a comment with what you decorate your shop to be. Taking a step back, you can see that this build feels very cohesive, and to achieve this I've made sure that I use materials and colours that are found in the build in my landscaping. So I've taken the cyan colour from the roof and used that in my flowers, as well as the red and white from these canopies in flowers as well. So if you customise this build by swapping out the wool colours you use, you can also swap out the flowers just to bring everything together. You'll also notice that I've used spruce throughout the build, and so I've used spruce in my decorations as well. So we've got these custom spruce fences to provide some separation with the build and the road, as well as these custom lanterns, which once again tie into the build by using these grindstones and these stone coloured walls. Another place that I've used this spruce toned material is around here in a small seating area, and I always recommend adding little zones like this in your garden just to make it to feel a bit more like a destination. One other thing I'd like to point out back here at the rear of the build is that I've used this canopy as some supply storage, so I've got some logs and hay, but you could customize what you use this build area for depending on how you decorate. So if you set this up as a blacksmith shop, you could have some smithing supplies back here. So now you have a stunning medieval shop and house build. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me further. And I'll see you in another video.